Alright, happy Friday to one and all. I am doing this vlog from another hotel room in Enumclaw, which is about 35 minutes from where we went skiing. And it was the first time I went skiing today, and I'll have to tell you about it later. But first, it seems like I'm not going to do a drawing on which topic to do today because a couple of responses I got were interested in how Shawn and I met, and so that's what I'm going to do. And it will probably be over the next couple days because it's a rather lengthy story. But first, the prologue. I was doing Missoula Children's Theater, and if you don't know who Missoula Children's Theater is a theater in Missoula, and they have many teams, and the teams are made up of two people. And so my touring partner was Christy and myself, and we would drive the little red truck all over the US and flew up to Alaska and worked with schools, art organizations. And so what we were doing was we were doing the Wizard of Oz, and I was the Tin Man, and we would go to a school, work with the kids, and cast the show on Monday, and work with them all week, and then do the final show on Saturday. And sometimes we would do one performance, sometimes we would do two, and then we would get in our little red truck and drive to the next town. And we had all the sets in our truck and all the costumes. And we can do the show anywhere from like 15 kids to 50. And we used kindergarten through high school, so it was our handful. But that's what I was doing when I decided to take a vacation to Seattle in September. And so I got everything ready and flew to Seattle, looking forward to 5 days of fun. Not necessarily in the sun, but fun. To meet one of our friends who was also touring with Missoula. He was going to come to Seattle and join me, and then we decided we were going to do the whole Green Tortoise hostel thing. And I'd never stayed in a hostel before, and so we did that the final 2 days. But in that time period, I found out that, I discovered that the cyst that was by my tailbone was growing rather large. This time it grew, and when I went up to the airport to pick up my friend, it was probably like I can feel it by my tailbone. It was probably the size of an egg. Then Monday, I couldn't get up. I couldn't get out of bed. And so I called my parents and I said, get to a doctor immediately. And so I called the airlines and arranged to fly back to Missoula to see the doctor there. And I figured, they're just going to give me a shot. They'll give me a shot and I'll feel all better. So I returned the rental car and went to SeaTac Airport in Seattle and flew back to Missoula. And some people from the theater met me there and then took me to the hospital, and they put me in the emergency room. And of course, they have you undress and get into one of those gowns, those horrible, horrible backless gowns. And so I did that, and she looked at my back, and then I remember she said, "Very impressive. I will be right back." And I knew when she said "very impressive" that it was not a good thing. So they took me in and did a CAT scan or an MRI, one of those machines where they put you in and they say, don't breathe, don't move, don't do anything. And so I sat there and I laid in there. And then the doctor came out and said, we need to do surgery immediately. And that's the last thing I remember. What had happened after I went to the emergency room was that they discovered that I had the wonderful case of necrotizing fasciitis, which is, in layman's terms, the flesh-eating bacteria stuff. And so they had to cut all that out of my back and fly me back to Seattle, just where I flew from, to Harborview. So it was either Harborview or Minneapolis, and they didn't think I'd make it to Minneapolis. So on the flight over to Harborview, they called my mom and they said, you should fly out here immediately because your son has a 2% chance of living. And this really freaked out my stepmom because the exact same day at 9 o'clock in the evening, I don't remember, 7, 8 years prior, she got a phone call that her son was just killed in a horse ride accident. And so she was very, very afraid. And so she flew out, and when I got to Harborview, they cut out some more stuff, and then the next day they cut out some more stuff, and so pretty much I had a hole in my back, but nothing there. They said I would be in the hospital. This was in September. They said I'd probably be in the hospital until either January or February, probably closer to February, and that I was just going to have to recover in the hospital. So anyway, after they cut everything out, well, the good thing is that Harborview's philosophy with medicine is if patients are in pain, give them whatever they need. And so the only thing I really remember during those first 5 days was the dressing changes, and that was not good, not fun at all. But other than that, they kept me medicated. I had very strange dreams, and I was on morphine, and I almost OD'd because you know that little clicker? Anyway, they have a thing, or if you don't know, where whenever you feel like you're in pain, they give you a clicker, and you click it, and then it puts morphine in your system. Well, they took off the limit because they're just going to watch me, and I almost clicked myself to death. Well, I don't know if it was death, but so they kept me there for 5 days, and they let everything kind of air out. Then they did a skin graft, and the skin graft was the worst part of the entire thing. They took skin from my leg and stapled it to my back where I had no skin, and they had this vacuum kind of thing that they put on my back, so I had to lay on my stomach and my side for another week, and my ears started hurting. Oh, that was miserable. But anyway, so they put this vacuum on my back that sucked the skin to my muscle where I had no skin, and I was that way for about a week. And then on my leg where my skin graft was, I have a minute left. I can't believe it. On my leg where my skin graft was, they put this silver oxide kind of stuff that's used to develop photography. And long story short on that, I got out of the hospital in 30 days and flew back to Omaha, where my mom was an EMT and she was able to watch over me. And that, my friends, is where I met Shawn. So chapter 2 next time. Hope you have a good weekend. Bye.